Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. On this week's episode, I am actually going to bring you this is something I wanted to do for a while. I wanted to, we did a Movies Plus Film Festival back in March, and I had a bunch of interviews with filmmakers. Um, so I've selected a couple of them that I think would be of interest to you guys. This first one is with Adam Choate. He made a short called The Edited, and I'll just read real quick for you the synopsis so you get an idea as to what the film is all about. You can check it out at mymoviesplus.com/the dash edited. So taking place in the near future, The Edited, and by the way, this is something Bitcoiners will totally get into. Um, you'll see what I mean. Taking place in the near future, The Edited is a dystopian psychological satire about an earnest misfit girl who enters a new high school in a new part of the country. She finds it's a strange school where they literally edit history, literature, and science. They teach that the Big Brother was the hero in George Orwell's 1984 novel. So, there's many other that goes on and on, but that I know a lot of Bitcoiners are, fans of 1984. So I thought you guys would like this one, and gives you a little different perspective on things that I do outside of Bitcoin. So first of all, before you get into that, you better, if you haven't, buy a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet. Go to bitbox.swiss/Bitcoin Made Simple and use the promo code Bitcoin Made Simple, all one word, to get 5% off your order and get your coins off the exchange. Do yourself a favor. And then also mymoviesplus.com. You can use the promo code Corey, Cory, and get an entire year for 24 bucks. It'd be a pretty nice thing to do for yourself. You can watch things like The Edited, and that you'll hear the interview that I did with the director and other stuff there. So who else? Upstream Data. Go to upstreamdata.ca and get some black box stuff. Get a black box. Get mining equipment, whatever you need to get your mining on. I call them DCA machines. I think I'm going to keep harping on that. So yeah, get your DCA machine from Upstream Data. Go to upstreamdata.ca and enjoy the interview. The writer and director of The Edited short film that played in the Movies Plus Film Festival, Adam Choate. Adam, thank you so much for coming on. And I got that right? Adam
Oh
Choate?
yeah, no problem. My pleasure. Correct pronunciation as well.
Yeah. So I want to get a little bit before we get into the film itself about your background as a filmmaker.
Okay. Well, where do we begin? Um, I mean, even going back to like high school and even like middle school and early days, I always kind of had expressed an interest in media and even photography. Not hardcore or anything like that, but I took a couple of media classes and even video art classes in high school, and I kind of got into it and like that stuff, the media arts, more than
Mm-hmm.
perhaps even other subjects in school. And when trying to figure out what I want to major in, where do I want to go to school, what do I want to study, I'm like, oh, I want to get into film and media. So I ended up going to Syracuse University and in their visual and performing arts school, studying film with a drama emphasis. And then from there, I moved to LA pretty much right after graduation. Not sure exactly what I wanted to get into, and fell into working in reality TV. And that's kind of what I'm still doing as far as my day job. Working as a TV producer in reality TV, but always working on other side projects and side hustles, writing little short films, documentaries, and things like that over the years. Written script, plenty of scripts that haven't seen the light of day, short films, feature films, pilots, all that stuff. Things I might dive back into at some point. But luckily, I was able to connect with this nonprofit, which actually no longer exists, Taliesin Nexus, and they would champion and fund and encourage liberty-minded filmmakers to produce narrative films as well as other creative projects. So that's kind of how I got into working on The Edited, and kind of the real first significant budget, really professional film operation that I was a part of and lucky to be able to direct. So that's kind of the long and the short, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's I was going to ask next was how do you get into making a liberty minded film? Because usually, if it has any hints of liberty in it in Hollywood, you have to have it, I guess glazed with wokeness and all those other things that kind of like how Yellowstone has a little bit of a sanitized feel to it. They're like, whoa, 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 we can't go like pure like freedom here. We got to show some of this other stuff. And um yeah, I just thought that was interesting. So you worked with a foundation that was, looking to support liberty-minded people, and did you take the film to them? Like, was it your script or?
Well, I had connected with this organization, I think in 2015 or 2016, and they had other programs that they would have, like weekend seminars and workshops and things like that. So I'd gone through their program and I was connected with them for a while and developed a relationship. And I did apply for their what they called Liberty Lab and then Smash Cut Film Labs, I think a couple of times at least, and did not get accepted. And looking back on those scripts and ideas that I did pitch, I kind of really do understand why they did not choose those projects for various reasons. Some were bigger budget, maybe not exactly what they were looking for in terms of story and content, but it was a great learning experience going through those I guess failures and as well. But yeah, that's pretty much
And
how I got connected with them.
I'm curious, since you were working through them, was everybody on the crew liberty-minded?
I would say no, not entirely, not definitely not the cast. I mean, maybe partly because everyone kind of networked and connected and referred each other and worked on each other's projects. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a little bit of that, but not entirely. A lot of what I've kind of maybe realized throughout working on this project, although some people did not want to be connected with the project for various reasons, as you might imagine, but for the most part, people just want to work and they want to work on cool projects and they want to be part of projects and want to be part of films, especially actors, I would say. Like, they were all definitely not liberty minded or libertarian or conservative or anything like that, but they see a script, it's exciting. They get to be in front of camera and get something on tape and be a part of a cool project. So that gets people excited more than anything when something is legit and it's actually happening.
Yeah. I wonder what the I wonder what that process must be like, because do they just sometimes have blinders on and like not see like, hey, this could be a problem if we're speaking of the edited, like editing very significant stories that show the dangers of censorship, and it's like, how do they not like pick up on that, or do they just choose to ignore it? I don't know. I mean, I'm curious.
I think the cognitive dissonance is strong, and I
Yeah.
just think people have a lot going on in their own lives. Like they are, if you're an actor or you're working in film in some capacity, and you have a job opportunity or an opportunity to be part of a project, you're gonna well, you put all your effort into it, but then your mind goes to elsewhere. You got your life to deal with. You got this to deal with. People, most people are not really that deep thinkers in this country, and we'll just kind of do what they're told, as we found out, especially the last couple of years. So I think it's the cognitive dissonance, and people like me and you, I think we operate differently. We actually probably, I would guess, think things through and try to be rational and logical about things. And if we're having some sort of debate or argument or conversation, we try to be reasonable and make sense and not contradict ourselves. But people who are I guess so-called political opponents, they do not play by those rules. They're not thinking that way at all. They don't care about contradicting themselves. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm rambling a little.
No, 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 no. That's what this is about, is to get your answers. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's the NPC meme, that is so prevalent of, and I thought I saw somewhere somebody said it's like a large percentage of the population cannot have like much of an inner monologue.
I've heard that. Yeah, people don't have inner some. I mean, that might be more of a condition, but some people
Yeah,
don't have inner monologues, from what I gather.
and they just they so like, I guess that makes sense as to where they're like, this is what they told me, so that's how I feel, and like like whatever the news said, that's life. Um, and I think that getting looking at it from a filmmaking perspective, you know I tell people all the time that like I like challenging things because I think that if it's the right thing, then you end up getting deeper into it. Um, and just like an example, and I'm not like, pontificating or whatever, but with religion, like I instead of just sitting there going like, oh yeah, like I was raised this way, so I'm gonna just believe everything. I like to challenge it all, and like I'm a questioner. You know what I mean? Like that's like a liberty person. Like we're not gonna believe it. We want to verify it. We want to hash it out. And that actually led me to like ended up becoming like deeper involved in it, and it's like a deeper understanding and a deeper reality for me. And I feel like that's something that with filmmaking, a lot of people don't really are afraid to scratch the surface of a topic like the edited, you know, um, because they're afraid of what they're going to find out on the other side. Um, but what do you think with this film? If people watch it, I mean, I've obviously seen it, and most people that are watching this have seen it. But what are they going to find that maybe they haven't really scratched the surface on this topic, and they're afraid to peer behind the door and see what they're going to see?
That is a good question, and I'm not sure I know the answer to it. But one thing I think does work to the film's benefit is that while we're talking about it as if it's like super controversial or very controversial, and it may be to some people, but none of at least I don't think any of the things mentioned in the film specifically in terms of like what the class is teaching to the kids, the lies and the edits in history and literature. I don't think they're super duper controversial or come across that way. I'm not really talking about like hot button, like current political issues. There's nothing in the movie about COVID. There's nothing in the movie about like trans issues or anything like that. That's really gonna like, be
Get you
polarizing or anything like.
canceled or something? Yeah.
Right, right. So I think that works to the film's benefit to the point where it might just, pique people's interest who are normies but like curious, the red-pilled curious normies if such a thing exists. So I think it could pique people's interest that are on the fence for sure.
Yeah, I mean, sticking with that like that religious aspect, and I mean, I'm not Lutheran or anything, but you think of like Martin Luther, and the invention of the printing press, and taking away that censorship control from a centralized entity. Uh, and I just think how different the world would be if we didn't have the printing press, if we didn't have the freedom of press. Um, and I just saw something too recently with they were saying that James Bond books are getting edited.
Didn't Roald Dahl's book, just one of his books, just get edited or something like that? They
Yep.
made a heavy set character skinny, or I don't even know what they did. I saw something about
Maybe
that.
they probably made the skinny character heavy set, to be
Yeah,
honest. Yeah.
whatever, whatever it was. And actually, anytime I see something like that, um, someone tweeting about that or that goes viral or someone mentions 1984 on like Twitter, I'll just drop my film, a link to my film, literally in the
Yeah.
in like in a reply just to. I'm like, oh, I'm like, this is kind of relevant. I'm spamming and or whatever to some degree, but I'm like, I think people might appreciate this. And some people have replied even on Twitter, being like, oh, I watched it. That was super cool. So I'm just gonna keep using that as another way to get it out there.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I gotta, hats off to you. I mean, with the who all was on the crew, because I mean it is really really professionally done, and looks like top notch. Like if you looked at it, I'd be like, oh man, I wish this was a feature. You know what I mean? This is like a studio feature.
Yeah,
um
John Kokum is the name of the producer. He was super cool and super helpful and got my location and helped with so many things that I'm not even remembering right now. And Colin O is the DP and hats off to him for uh for all his hard work and not knowledge that he brought to the set. The DP is such a huge part of everything on set for sure. I feel like just going through the process of directing this film, like, in some ways, just like, you know, the shoot day was in some ways the easiest aspect of the film. Like,
oh yeah.
if you're working with a great DP and you have a great crew and cast and you're happy with your script and things. I mean, there's going to be challenges and ups and downs and whatnot on any film shoot, but for the most part, like, it went pretty smoothly, and that's just again a credit to the cast and crew. The real not the real challenge, but I think almost the more important thing as for me, what I've at least learned in terms of directing, other than the nuts and bolts on the creative side, is just the relationships aspect, making sure everyone gets the right emails, making sure everyone's in the loop, making sure the actors are content. Put out some food when you're doing a table read, like just these like little things. I think that maybe people don't think about. I think it's really the human element that really is kind of in some ways more important than other aspects, because the other things, the technical things and even the creative things, like that's kind of all pre-production, the script, and getting to building the relationships, obviously, but the creative stuff, I think that kind of comes before, and then just like, if you have a good script and you got good cast and crew, things should just I shot the film and I keep saying, um I think I made the film that I wrote. And when I summarize my little elevator pitch, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I made this movie. So
Yeah,
it's good that I was able to follow through and end up shooting what was written.
it often does not end up with what was written.
And
And
that's okay too.
yeah, that works out sometimes. But if you had a very specific vision, which you did with this film, it works. And it helps that you were able to achieve your goal and achieve your vision.
Now, I was gonna say one thing that kind of did change, at least in my mind, is when I was writing this project and developing and even going into the shoot, I thought I was making more of an idiocracy. That was kind of my goal, something a little bit funnier, a little bit different tone, more inspired by that. But what
Mm,
ended up coming together was more of a kind of a Black Mirror episode. And
yes,
in some ways, I was kind of fighting that a little bit, especially with the music and the direction of the music, which went through a lot of different phases. Risto Miettinen, that was my composer. So I appreciate his patience with me for sure. So in some ways, I think another learning experience for me was you kind of have to let the movie be what it wants to be, what it is once it's shot in the can. You can only work with what you shot. You can't crowbar in a tone that's just not there. So
yeah,
that was a learning experience too.
yeah. It's like a living organism that's just gonna like take a life of its own, and you have to, foster it and help it grow in the direction it wants to grow. Yeah, that's a
Agreed.
really good example, and that's a great analogy because I have mentioned it to people that I've recommended it to. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like a Black Mirror episode. Like, I mean, if you were watching Black Mirror and you just came that popped up as one of the episodes, you'd be like, yeah, I mean, it's just a Black Mirror episode. Like I think it's really well done that way, and yeah, but I can see where you're like, yeah, you want to go with like more humor and everything like that, and then you're just resisting and fighting, and then you're like, oh no, I guess this does make sense,
Yep.
it's a pitfall for a lot of filmmakers, where they try to fight it, and you got to realize, like, am I fighting it for a good reason, or is there a reason it's going in this direction? Is it better this way?
Yeah, it's funny because like love comedy. I'm a big fan of stand up comedy, and maybe when I'm writing, I have a tendency to write stuff that's more serious and more dramatic, and then I see other writers who want to write these serious, dramatic things, and sometimes stuff will come out funny. So it's interesting how people's intentions don't always match what
Yeah,
comes out on the page.
yeah, exactly. Um, so what challenges did you come across in the actual filmmaking process? I mean, I know you said that the day to day like was relatively easy, but was locations, was any kind of interesting obstacles that came up during filming?
That is a good question. I don't think there was any real one specific challenge that needed to be overcome or anything like that. I mean, there was little things on the day of shoot. There's a thing in the middle of the room that needs to be covered and be out of the shot and can't have people tripping. Like there's little things like that. But I think it was really just maintaining the relationships and the communication, just being on top of that with everyone and keeping everyone in the loop. And I think just being patient and just submitting and surrendering to the process wherever you may be in the filmmaking process, whether it's going through script revisions and getting feedback, and just because I think everyone wants to submit a script or get feedback on a script and be told it's awesome, you're ready to shoot, go shoot tomorrow. And when you hear feedback, whether it's helpful or not, you kind of your heart sinks a little bit, because in my
Hmm.
head it's like, oh, that's more work. I have to do work. And not only that, I don't know how to fix it right now. But it's okay. It's okay to not have the solution right away. And when I sit down at the computer and I actually start thinking about ideas and just writing down ideas or brainstorming with colleagues and just and thinking things over, things will sort themselves out and solutions will come. But when you first get that feedback that's negative, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that in a constructive way, there is a part of me that's like, ah, shit, I got to do more
Yeah.
work, and I don't know the solution to whatever problem is being presented yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think the anxiety of a filmmaker. There's more work to do, and it's not that like I always look at it through the lens of like people that work, just like regular job where it's like, hey, show up to work, press button A whenever this color comes up, press button B when this color comes up, and you're like, okay, I know what to do today. But like when you're a filmmaker, it's like there's a lot more work, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. Like I don't know where this is going, so it's stressful, I think, for filmmakers. Um, so, I guess the final thing would be, what kind of takeaway, I know as a liberty-minded person, and but like as a for the general audience, what kind of takeaway do you want them to have from this film?
Um, I would love the of audience to just be more aware of that this is happening and believe that it's happening, because I think people are really in denial, or it's cognitive dissonance, or they just all believe what's on television and they're being told, and this is not happening, but this is happening. And I think people just need to come to grips with reality. I mean, at least some people, like that's the hope. You're not going to win everyone over, and I think the people who are hardcore, you know, got their feet dug into whatever their ideology is, you're not going to win them over. But there is a silent majority out there, and they can be reached, and on YouTube and through your venture, I think that like it is starting to reach more and more people, and that's super cool too.
Awesome,
I don't
awesome.
mind preaching to the choir, but maybe to the a few outside the choir would be cool as well.
Yeah, it'd be cool if occasionally maybe we should throw a speaker up on the outside of the church so that people are walking by and they hear, oh man, that sounds pretty interesting. Um, and that's how it works. I mean, I used to be. I don't like identify with anybody's political views anymore. I'm just like, I
A
told somebody,
guy, you're
yeah,
a guy.
yeah. I used to. I told somebody over the weekend. Um, I said I was like, I'm anti-war, pro-peace, pro fiscally responsible, um, you know, pro free speech. I was like, that's pretty much it. And I was like, and if you can find me a political party or a political candidate that aligns with all that, then I'd support them. But I don't think they exist anymore. Everybody's
Tough to
gonna be on a
find.
side.
Yep.
Everybody's gonna pick a side, and it's all part of one machine. So, anyways, um, well, Adam, I really appreciate you, sharing your film with the audience, and again, if anyone wants to watch Adam's film or vote for Adam's film, you can vote. We have the directions how to vote in the notes, and you can vote for the film to win Best Short. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And Adam, thank you so much for coming on.
No, I appreciate it. Anytime. Thank you, Corey.
I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I know I did, and it was a fun conversation to have. And I really appreciate you guys listening, and I appreciate the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet for sponsoring the show. Go to bitbox.swiss, and you can get bitbox.swiss/Bitcoin made simple and get your hardware wallet and get your coins off the exchange. And you'll save 5% with the promo code Bitcoin made simple. All right, thanks, guys. Talk to you later.